Hi, my name is Hannah Spangler, and this is my story of faith. So I've always wanted to be an animator growing up. I loved doing art. It was something I always did, and it came really naturally to me. And so to the point where I went to college for it back in 2014. I studied in animation and game art and film and stuff like that. And so it was something that I really felt like there was a call on my life on, and I wanted to pursue that. But around that time, I had done all this work and I felt like it was in vain. I was starting to lose my love for art. I didn't feel like I had a community. I was just kind of very lost in that season. And so I went to school and I just didn't feel very excited about it. But my mom came to me. I was living with them at the time, and she showed me this artist on Instagram that seemed, pretty popular, well known. And he was holding a contest for a scholarship for a 1-year mentorship program. And I was skeptical at first because who wins Instagram contests, And so I applied to that, and I ended up winning the 1-year scholarship, and that just changed the entire trajectory of my life at that point. I went to a conference that they were holding in California in about 2015, I believe. And I met a ton of amazing creatives, and they were just so passionate about what they did, and it just kind of sparked my love for art and storytelling again. I met someone there at the conference who was a screenwriter and was interested in the animation field as well. I was still going to school at the time when he hit me up, and he was like, let's just do something together just because we could. And so we worked on this part live action, part animated project for about a year called The Land Below. It did fairly well, but we were very proud of what we were able to accomplish. In the middle of going to college, after I went to that conference, I took everything that I learned and applied it to this final animation that I was doing for school. It was called Overcomer, and I posted it on YouTube, and it did fine, but then in the summer it blew up, and it got 7.7 million views over the course of, 7 years since it's been on there? And it's been incredible to see that kind of growth, and it was exploding soon after I posted it. And so when that was going on, I was like, okay, I think I got this. I think I can actually do animation. All those doubts I had before, I can actually progress in this field. I finished that project with my friend out in LA, and it was around that time I graduated college as well, so I was thinking about the next steps. What do I do? What do I pursue? Do I go to a 4-year college? But in my heart, I felt like I needed to go to RHEMA, and my parents had gone to RHEMA before, and so that option was always there for me. But I didn't want to go into ministry. I knew that wasn't my calling, and so it was kind of confusing at first to feel like I needed to go. During the time when I was trying to make that decision, my friend contacted me saying, hey, the project we did? I'm trying to pitch it to investors and to distributors to see if we can get funding to kind of make this a real thing. And he was asking if I had the bandwidth to help kind of kickstart that project. And I got so excited. I was like, this is it. This is my ticket. This is how I get into the animation industry. This is how I find my community, everything that I've wanted, that just seemed like that's where I was supposed to go. But RHEMA would not leave me alone, in my heart. Despite what I thought my dream was, I ended up going to RHEMA Bible Training College in 2017, and it was rough the first year. I had a really hard time because during the first year I was there, my friend out in LA, I saw him go on podcasts talking about his creative exploits and just seeing stuff on social media, like he was developing games and talking to these amazing people. And I'm over here in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, like I missed my shot. Like that, he was living my dream, and I thought I was gonna obtain that, and I'm here. Halfway through my first year, I decided to invest in my season and not wallow in self-pity. And so I started to invest in the ministry. And I started by volunteering in youth ministry when it was JV and varsity at the time. And so I volunteered at JV until 2020 came along, and the world was on fire. And so it was a couple years after I had graduated, and I was wondering, what my next steps were. And I just knew I was supposed to stay and, invest in youth. And at that time, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And so I was afraid that if I lost my job, I would have to move back to Michigan and leave behind the amazing community and the ministry that I had invested so many years in. But then the beginning of March, I got an email. And for context, when I worked at Hobby Lobby, I had a coworker that knew the producer of this production company here in Tulsa. And so she gave me their information, and I had communication with them for about a year between like 2018 and 2019, but nothing really happened. And so I just kind of dropped that. I didn't think like my dream was going to come from that. The projects are falling through, so I'll just keep moving on and doing what I know to do. But then I got this email from the CEO saying that he wanted to have a meeting with me about this music video project. And as some productions go, you think like it's this no-name artist with a really low budget. They're just like pricing out people. It's not gonna happen, you know? So I go into this meeting with zero expectations. I go in and they start describing this project, saying that one, the artist, their client, was David Crowder, and just purely by the fact I knew this name was like, oh, this is like real. Like, this is a real thing. And they described what the music video was about. It was basically the second coming of Jesus Christ. They wanted to be anime themed, and when could I start? And I was so floored. I think it took me like 7 minutes to realize they just offered me a full-time animation gig on the spot. And so I agreed to the job, and I screamed in my car on the way home because I had to go to work that day, and I put in my 2 weeks notice immediately. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. About 3 weeks later, I started working there for a couple days, and the whole world just shut down. Everyone had to work from home. But in the midst of that, I got hired on to my dream job while everyone was losing theirs. Throughout the entire time, I just had this peace in my heart, and in any other situation, I probably wouldn't have. So it was very interesting to know that I was gonna be okay, and this job comes along, and it's just a testament to God's faithfulness and how He just brings all the provision to you when everything around you is on fire. And ever since then, I've been working on various animation projects and really living the dream that God had placed in my heart all those years ago. And I go back to the story in Matthew 6, how, you know, God takes care of the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, and how much more will He take care of you? And He certainly did. When the world was crazy and I thought I was going to lose everything, He came and gave me more than I could ask for. So it's incredible to see how God's faithfulness is just so apparent in my life.